Good day, everyone. Welcome back to another video. Today I got a question from Justin about how to change spark plugs on his vehicle. So let's get into it and get this done. So I got here a spark plug. That end right there is what connects to your ignition coil, which sends the voltage through the spark plug. You have that air gap right there. This tip here is the ground electrode, and it sends a high voltage. We're talking in the tens of thousands, 30, 40, 50,000 volts in order to spark across that gap, light your fuel air on fire, make your engine run. So what you need to do is check this gap and make sure it is to your engine specifications. Make sure you get the right plugs as well. This right here is a gap tool. They come in different styles. This is the one that I have. It's pretty common. They also have a circular one, which is also common. Nice one about this one is you have both scales. You got the metric on that side and the standard on this side. This is a Mazda I'm working on. The specs for the Mazda are 49 to 53 thou. And you can see that one is right at that 4950 mark. So that's perfect, ready to go in. So you just pop the engine cover off. This is just a plastic cover that just is retained with little rubber grommets. That'll be pretty common on most vehicles these days. You can see there's a grommet right there, and it pops up onto these guys right in there. That's what holds that in. So first thing we gotta do, these are your ignition coils. It's 4 of them because this is a 4-cylinder. So is Justin's car, so you should be able to relate to this. So we gotta go ahead and get those things off. To do this job, you need a few basic tools. Socket to get the coils off. This one here, you got to get these things off too, but that's okay. And then extension and a spark plug socket, which I'll show you in a second. And of course your ratchet. So I got my 3/8 ratchet here, a socket. I'll take this coil off right here. Pretty easy. I'm not sure I have that lined up 100%. I'll just move that. There we go. That should give a better view. Put the bolt somewhere you're not going to lose it. Now the coil will just pull out. Pretty simple. It has a boot on the end. The coil sends the spark or the electricity through to the spark plug to make your spark. On some, this wiring won't be long enough that you can pull it out like I can on this car. This car's a Mazda. You would just have to squeeze this tab right here, and you can pull that connector off, and away you go. When you're doing all of them, make sure you don't get the wiring mixed up, because that's all timed by the computer. So if you accidentally plug this one into this one and vice versa, you'll actually create either a really bad running car or it won't run at all. So I have a long extension here to go down in the hole. And then I brought 2 different spark plug sockets just to show you the difference. This one's your pretty standard one you'd find in all kinds of kits, no matter where you buy it. If you look inside there, it's a little bit hard to see, but there's actually a rubber grommet or ring or washer, whatever you want to call it, in there, and that's to hold and support the end of the spark plug so that it doesn't fall off the socket, because you want it to be able to come out of the hole, and you want, when you're installing it, you don't want it to fall into the hole. Now the other one I have is a fancier one that I like. It's from Snap-on, and there is no ring inside there. It's actually just designed to be like a friction fit, so it essentially locks into it, and when you twist it, it'll unlock, and they work really well. So I prefer that one, but you don't necessarily have to go to that extent. That's just because I do this all the time. So it's going to be a little bit tight, so you're going to want to make sure you give her a good push. And there it comes. So you just ratchet that out like you would any standard bolt. If it's loose enough, you can do it by hand. Eventually. There we go. And there's the old spark plug. Doesn't actually look too bad. A little black on the tip and at the bottom there. But we'll get that changed out. So there's the old guy. Got a new one here. And like we already did, it's gapped, ready to go. So you can stick it in the socket and feed it in. I actually have a little cheap tool you can buy at any part store as well. And it's actually for grabbing the end of the spark plug, just like that, and it holds it. So you feed it in the hole, it doesn't drop or anything. On these engines, it's pretty easy because everything's right on top, but when you got something that's at the side, like on a V8 or a V6, that can help you out a lot. You can twist it like you just saw, and it'll start it. And then I can go ahead and just feed it the rest of the way in. I'll typically get it as far along as I can by hand, like this, just because that makes life a lot easier. Because then you're not working the ratchet for nearly as long. So there it is. And now there is always a torque spec on spark plugs. So it'll be different for your vehicle. So make sure you look it up if you have a little torque wrench that you can torque them. If you don't, honestly, you're not really going to hurt anything as long as you get it tight so that that washer at the bottom seals. So if we look at the old spark plug, this one actually doesn't have a washer. It uses that taper at the end. This is the other style. So you see that taper right there? That's essentially your seal for it. Most of them will have actually a washer there, but Mazda does it a little differently. So that was, it bottomed out, and if you just give her a tight there, that's going to be more than enough to secure that appropriately. Coil goes back in the hole. Sorry, I'm working outside at my house here, and a loud truck just drove by. I'm sure that picked up on the video pretty clearly. So coil back in, tighten that guy down. There we go, and done. Now I just got 3 more, but you don't need to watch all those. It'll be all the same. On an older vehicle, you won't have, this is what they call coil on plug, because the coil is sitting on top of the plug. On an older vehicle, you'd have a distributor, and it'd have all the wires going to each plug, so you'd have to pull the wires off and then get at the plug. It's still the same process, it's just a different way of getting at the plug. And distributors is a different way of getting the spark out to the plug. You know, certain trucks, they still use separate coils like this, but then they have like a small plug wire. Chevy does that a lot. That goes down to the plug. So same thing, you got to pop the wire off the plug and then you can change the plug. But overall, it's not a hard job, something you can do easily on yourself. If you need any of the specs looked up, either for your gap or for your torque, feel free to drop me a message if you can't find it or don't have a service manual for it, and I can find it. And yeah, hopefully that helps you out. If you need any more help, just let me know there, Justin, but I think you'll be able to tackle this no problem. And if anybody's got any other questions, just let me know. Hey, sorry, 2 quick things that I forgot to mention. I guess I was going too fast and got ahead of myself. The first one is a tech tip. Don't ever change the spark plugs in a hot engine. You risk pulling the threads out of the head, and then you got yourself a serious problem that's going to need serious repair. So that's the first thing. And then back to this handy spark plug gapper and measurer. I forgot to mention that if you have to adjust the gap, this hole at the end is made to hook into that ground electrode. Oh, I got all fuzzy, sorry. There we go. And it can actually pull it back. If you pull back on that, you pry it open more. Now again, I've already looked at these, and this one is again right on that like 50 mark, and you can see I got the other 3 apart now. But I forgot to mention that is a handy part about that tool. So anyways, sorry that this is going to be a little bit spliced together of a video. It should have been kind of smooth and seamless, and it wasn't, but it is what it is. Thanks again for the question, Justin. Anybody else has a question, please ask, because the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. So if you have a question, ask this mechanic. Thanks for watching, and take care.